this is like the Olympics for people like me. This is what I live for. The Staley transcript. I know nobody really cares about the Staley transcript, but I do, because it's an inside look into exactly what happened between Jeffrey Epstein and his best friend at the time, Jess Staley, his banker friend who worked at JPMorgan, later on went to work at Barclays, and he testified a while ago. Testimony is probably the wrong thing. He was interviewed a while ago by the Oversight Committee, and we got the transcripts yesterday, and we've been poring over them. And Ann P. Mitchell is here to help me go through them. And this is why it's my favorite day of all time. Hi, Ann. How are you?
Hi, Zev. I am well. How are you? Long time no see.
I know. It's been, 24 hours?
I know. I missed you.
I know, but we see each other every other day almost these days, which is so good. Let me see. We're live everywhere that people need to know that we're live, and that's good. And we're going to play a little, supper hour theater, because you're a lawyer and I have something approximating an accent. So I'll play Jess Staley and you can play the lawyers, the endless lawyers that were involved in this. And what we've done is selected a number of excerpts out of a 200-page transcript. This is a very long, minutia-driven transcript, even though they didn't get to all the really important questions. They got to some really interesting things. And we'll just, we'll do this, and we'll go read through a few sections for everybody and analyze them as we go along. Plus, we'll take this as your questions. If you'd like to, please, on the chat or anywhere you're communicating with us, preferably on the Substack chat, because that's where we look the most. Just write your questions and we'll answer whatever we have. And also, this will be it's free right now if you're watching, but it's the only time free viewers will be able to see this, because afterwards it'll be a pay for view event for paid viewers only. So if you're watching now, you're getting it free. That's just nice. Good for you. All right, it's time to get into the Staley transcript. Anything you want to say, Anne, before we begin here? Because it is quite a lengthy ordeal. I'm sure we'll have lots of comments along the way, but I'm interested in what your thoughts are overall.
I just, I think that there, you mentioned that you don't think, or maybe people aren't so interested in this, but you are, but they really need to be, because these are the things where you will find the things that people elsewhere who have more light shining on them, they're not going to say. But when you take these transcripts and piece them together with what the other people have said, that's where you get to find impeachment testimony, right? Like you and I just talked about, and I think we're going to talk about, the discrepancy between what Jamie Dimon said in his testimony and what Jess Staley just said in his testimony. And there's like a big discrepancy, and one of them's lying.
Yeah, and everyone has to just position themselves inside JPMorgan, America's biggest bank, who throughout the 2000s was doing all sorts of shady business with giving loans to people that they shouldn't be giving loans to, along with a whole subprime market that was, extended from some of these big Wall Street banks. Jess Staley was in the middle of all of that. He was the number two to Jamie Dimon. Jamie Dimon is still today one of the most powerful people in America, still running the bank that, counted Jeffrey Epstein as a client, also counted Donald Trump as a client, and also, counted many of the women that were trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein, and including two Jess Staley through those years. So it's a purview into that world where they allowed this guy access to their accounting world, to their banking world, at a time when no one should have allowed him to do that, because he was a convicted child trafficker. And so for him to then, or for them, this is just a really revealing world that Jess Staley covered this up. And it was because of their friendship, because Jess Staley and Jeffrey Epstein were such close friends, that he stayed on at the bank, despite many warnings from many people saying we shouldn't have him. He's not an honorable client. We shouldn't have this guy on board. All the systems went off inside the bank, but Jeffrey Epstein stayed a client throughout all those years, which is quite an achievement, actually, from Epstein's perspective. But an interesting thing, a lapse in the judgment of Jamie Dimon and Jess Staley, maybe even an intentional criminal act I would
Yeah, and
argue.
we're going to see several of those lapses here. And first of all, I just have to say, you guys, Zev worked up until the last minute to put this together and to put these slides together for us. And I want to just give him, you guys give him some applause because he never sleeps. I think. I mean, so
I
just
don't
Zev,
sleep.
thank you for being so on top of everything, and for my followers, who are here. If you're not following Zev, please do, because he is just the real deal, and you're missing out on a lot if you're not following him.
And I'll say the same for you. Ann P. Mitchell has a remarkable audience, and if you don't, and a remarkable Substack, if you're not following her, you're missing out on something, because every time there's a big legal document that comes out, she'll give you the source material if you're a paid subscriber, and you should become a paid subscriber, but she'll also give you an incredible first-hand analysis on everything, and very quickly so, which is such an important thing. It's not just you have to wait and wait to read what it's about. She dives into things very quickly and gives you a very accurate analysis. Yesterday, she was on the 5-stack with us, and we were just talking about the USPS rule thing that's coming down. And you were right. You were right so far. Everything's played out the way you said it was going to play out, which is why you're a brilliant advocate and attorney, and why it'll be very helpful as we go through this. So we'll take your questions as we go through this. These are just various exchanges, 7 of them, that we've chosen from the interview. It was not under oath. It was just an interview. This is the first one, the admission block. And I guess you'll play the attorney, and I'll do my best, just Staley here. Only on account of the British accent.
I just want to point out that actually testimony before a House committee is under oath, which is why we can use this to impeach either him or Jamie Dimon.
I thought it was just an interview. I thought it wasn't. I think they claimed it was. He didn't have to. I think it's a distinction that they've made, that it's an interview with the transcript that's released, but not under oath. But I might be wrong.
I could be wrong. I mean, typically
you're obviously
it is under
more
oath.
Okay.
It is possible that they made an arrangement for him to just talk to them and have it not be an official hearing. I thought it was a regular hearing, but I don't know. So maybe if someone in the audience knows or can check that for us, that would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And in the meantime, take it away.
Mr. Staley, how did you meet Tom Pritzker?
I think I just met Tom Pritzker. He's a client of the bank.
Do you recall? Okay, hang on.
Would you recall what you met with him about?
Yeah, I see it. I just didn't, it didn't parse. Okay. Do you recall what you met with him about with Mr. Epstein?
Again, I'm not sure I met with Mr. Epstein. My recollection is I met with Tom Pritzker at their headquarters.
Did you work with Mr. Epstein on any deal for Mr. Pritzker?
I don't think so, no.
Well, the Wall Street Journal has reported in March of 2026 that you divulged confidential information to Mr. Epstein regarding financial dealings that JPMorgan Chase was working on. What information did you divulge?
What year?
This was reported in 2026, but the deal that they found was in 2008.
Do you know which deal they're talking about?
A deal for the Pritzker family.
I don't. No, I don't recall what the deal was.
Would it be accurate to say that you divulged bank communications with the Federal Reserve on how to stabilize the financial system?
Yes.
Did you divulge any other market-moving information to Mr. Epstein?
Ask the question again. Sorry.
Did you divulge any other market-moving information to Mr. Epstein?
I don't think so, no.
Would it be accurate to say you also divulged that JPMorgan was inundated by $44 billion in new assets within 2 weeks?
That's possible, yes.
So is there any other information that you divulged to Mr. Epstein?
It was a long time ago you're talking, so I apologize. I can't answer it.
I would still like an answer to the question, though. Is there any other information that you divulged?
That I recall? No.
Did you discuss JPMorgan's salaries with Mr. Epstein?
I discussed my salary with Mr. Epstein, yes.
Did you understand at the time that sharing this information was in violation of your fiduciary duties to the bank?
No.
Why did you share this information with Mr. Epstein?
To get his thoughts and ideas about it.
Did Mr. Epstein benefit from any of the information you divulged?
No, that I'm aware of, no. I discussed my salary with Mr. Epstein, yes. That's the end of the first portion. Now, what's important here is the fact that there was information shared around the 2008 crash. Important, detailed, insider, confidential information shared between Jess Staley and Jeffrey Epstein, which indicates the type of relationship they had, the closeness of the relationship. And because many of us suspect, as I've detailed in The Greatest Heist book 2, that Jeffrey Epstein had a lot to do with the collapse of the market in 2008. That's why all of this stuff is very critical. But it also puts Jeffrey Epstein inside the leadership group of the JPMorgan financial empire, JPMorgan Chase. And that's a very significant place for someone to be, someone who has at least some espionage contacts, some espionage connections with both the FSB and Israeli military intelligence, and someone you wouldn't normally, especially because he was a convicted sex trafficker, normally include in your big financial decisions. But Jess Staley did that, and that's significant.
Let's not forget that, you and I disclosed that 3-hour secret meeting between Epstein and Barack and Summers, which is another example of how these people, these highly placed, highly influential people, were sharing information with each other and, basically manipulating economies and countries. And also, I just want to say, Ellie, thank you so much. So Ellie says that she has determined that this was not under oath. So I apologize. It's a bit unusual. And I suspect that his attorneys finagled that specifically so that he couldn't, be impeached.
A lot of them have been like this lately because, there was so much made of the first ones which were under oath. And it's unfortunate, Howard Lutnick sort of broke the dam on that. And since then, everybody has been allowed to have an interview versus a full-on under oath testimony, which I think does weaken the testimony. I mean, for sure, it doesn't make you feel like it's very accurate. And as you read this, as I read this, I thought it was lying through a lot of this.
But here's the thing that maybe they're not thinking about, unless they have cut a deal of which I'm unaware, that this interview, an interview of this style, can be the basis for a subpoena under which they would have to actually testify under oath. Of course, it would be useless because they would just, plead the fifth. But I mean, so there's still ways to get them under oath.
Ellie's also saying that except Leon Black, who's now being subpoenaed. Interesting, Leon Black is being subpoenaed, I think, on the September the 3rd is the deadline. And it is interesting as well today that Bank of America finalized its deal with the Epstein survivors, a big deal, $72 million, I think, just in time for Leon Black to enter that subpoena and return whatever information he's willing to do. Because, of course, one of the banks that Epstein and Leon Black used to launder some of their money, allegedly, through the art world, was, I gotta say it, was the Bank of America, who've never really been called to account, and now they have. So interesting timing there for the Bank of America thing.
Well, and I think that this is more, another example, as you and I have discussed, of, the cracks that are forming and, the parties starting to fold or capitulate, or at least starting to, talk about folding or capitulating, because it's happening all around them and they want to cut a deal before they get indicted.
Yeah. I should say one more thing about the discussing your salary with Jeffrey Epstein. When you read the actual conversations that they had between Jeffrey Epstein and Jess Staley on his mail, it wasn't just, hey, this is how much I earn. It was a coaching document about how to approach Jamie Dimon, with what numbers to approach him, with what money to ask for. It was a very intimate, close conversation, almost like you would have with your business manager or your coach, or maybe if you were a asset to somebody, your handler. Right. It's that kind of conversation. And so it's unusual that happened, and it's unusual that he's confirming it here, because you wouldn't normally have that kind of conversation with anybody, really, unless they were very, very close to you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And again, going back, I hate to keep bringing it up, but it's just such a stellar example of it. That this is the reason that we know that Epstein was at minimum an asset to, for example, Israel, because otherwise, again, that 3-hour conversation, Barack would not be saying the things he was saying to him and Summers if he wasn't a trusted asset.
And
So,
yeah, and just Staley is one of those people, like Ehud Barak, like Summers. Staley was in the inside loop with Jeffrey Epstein and involved in all these critical things that happened. Maybe some would argue Bill Clinton too. Donald Trump would be the other name that comes up there. All right, so now this is the $44 billion email, and you can't read it very well, but I can't either. But this is the point where this is from the actual Epstein Files Transparency Act releases, where he talks about how they've had this huge boon in business at the private bank at JPMorgan. $44 billion has come in at this time, and it's September 2008 after the crash, and so a lot is booming for JPMorgan. And this is the conversation they have.
I have a question. Yeah. If you happen to know, why are they referring in these emails to, quote, the private bank instead of JPMorgan Chase?
JPMorgan Private Bank is the bank that Jess Staley, or the division of JPMorgan that Jess Staley operated. It was for very, very high-end clients. Like Jeffrey Epstein, and dealt with all sorts of unusual sort of arrangements for very high-end clients. It's not the bank that you and I sidle into and say, hey, handle my finances. It's not that kind of branch. It's a very fancy branch. Well, maybe you do. I don't know. You might be. I know you might be, but I'm not. I just go to the regular one. So,
me too.
So, do you want to pick it up here? This is the conversation around the same Bates number. I guess we could miss this first one because it's this email. There you go.
All right, you ready?
Yes.
Okay, back in Inquisitor mode. I would like to introduce, Your Honor, as Minority Exhibit Z, an email between you and Mr. Epstein dated September 26, 2008. I said Your Honor because that's what you would do first, actually. The Bates number is EFTA 013000035. Okay. In this email, you write, quote, I'm spending a lot of time with Treasury. The private bank has brought in $44 billion in the last 2 weeks. Unreal. Why did you tell Mr. Epstein that you were spending a lot of time with Treasury?
This was during the financial crisis of 2008. Obviously, a lot was going on financially, globally, and around the world. I was working with the U.S. Treasury in my capacity at JPMorgan. And again, I would use Epstein to get his advice and thoughts on issues like this that I was facing.
Would you agree the information about how much money JPMorgan's private bank brought in over the course of 2 weeks is confidential?
I think I could share it with someone that I was seeking advice from.
Even if that person was not retained by JPMorgan in any capacity?
Again, I think I was using him as a source of advice and views on the markets, but not. This was a very stressful time. So I was not paying him, but I was using him as an advisor at the time.
In the next paragraph, you write, quote, also, do you know Sheldon Adelson? I'm throwing him out of the bank on Monday. You spelled it Througing. Did you mean Throwing? You moron.
We exited Sheldon Adelson as a client.
You're not asking Mr. Epstein for advice here, though? You're just sharing information?
No, I'm asking whether he knows Sheldon Adelson, and I don't know whether there were follow-up questions or not.
So your testimony here is not that you are just sharing an extremely confidential piece of information with Mr. Epstein, but even though you don't ask him for any advice or counsel.
I asked him whether he knew Sheldon Adelson.
And you read that as looking for Mr. Epstein's advice or counsel on a decision that you've already made?
Potentially.
Why would you need his advice or counsel on a decision you had already made?
I don't need it, but I might want it.
On a decision you had already made?
Yeah.
Would you agree that information about a client's status at a bank is confidential?
Yeah, confidential, but I believe as a senior officer of the bank, I've got the right to use confidential information where I think it's appropriate. Well, and is it appropriate?
Of course not.
Yeah.
Of course not.
So what they're doing here is that line of questioning is very good, isn't it? I mean, they sort of really get at him as to what he views as confidential and classified and what's important or not. And they cornered him a little bit, didn't they?
Yes, yes, and this is exactly the sort of thing. Now, I, as the lawyer, I call it testimony, and I think that's important because even though he may not be under oath or he isn't under oath, this is the kind of thing that can be called out to subpoena him to come in and testify about it under oath because it is, it's at odds with other standards of practice or depending on what he's saying with other testimony. So, yeah.
I mean, the truth is Jeffrey Epstein had a very, very close interaction with Staley about lots of things related to the business of JPMorgan. And that's just a fact as you go through these. And I don't even know why he'll try and run away from it. But, he's not just an advisor. He makes money off the deals, as we find out later through Highbridge Capital. He stayed on as a bank's client through many years, even though they suspected him of human trafficking, amongst other things. And of course, he was there advising both the Treasury and JPMorgan what to do during the 2008 crisis while he was in jail. We'll get to that in just a minute. But, Staley asks for him to have a holiday from prison, a weekend break from prison, to come and advise him on the 2008 crisis. It's not something you'd normally expect to do out of a sex trafficker, convicted human being. But there you go. This next one is the stockade. I'm not sure what this is. I can't read these things. I'm half blind. But I think what we're looking at here, let me just see if I can just quickly zoom in here. So Staley writes to Epstein, I'm dealing with the feds on an idea to solve things. I need a smart friend to help me think through the stuff. Can I get you out for the weekend? To help me.
Can Jeffrey
Are they listening? Meaning the guards, I think. I mean, really, it's kind of crazy to think that this is a thing that's happening in the real world. How do I get back to us now?
You have to remember that he was on work release during a lot of that time, and he was actually going to that fake office. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that he might be allowed to have a pass.
Yeah, I think he did get the pass, if I'm not mistaken. So that's good. I just don't know how to get back to us. But I guess I'll just do this. I'll go like this, and then I will do this. There we go.
You ready?
So are they listening? He's referring as well to the guards. He's wondering if the guards are listening to what the words are that he's saying there. But he's asking this incredible thing. He's having this conversation with Treasury in the midst of the biggest financial crisis in American history. He is in jail. Jeffrey Epstein is in jail in isolation, if I'm not mistaken. And he talks about this with Steve Bannon at a later point, and talks about this weird world that he's in. He's in jail and wearing brown, whatever you do in prison, pajamas, whatever they are. And yet he's having calls with the Treasury on the one hand, and his friend who's the head of private banking at JPMorgan about the financial crisis. And it's bizarre.
Let's not forget, he also has a sex bed in the back of his SUV that he uses to commute between the jail and his fake office every day.
Really? Yes, he does have that.
Yes.
By the way, his fake office was used so he can get a lighter sentence by cheating on a prosecution that he was assisting with. Hey, what a guy. So here we go. Go ahead.
All right. I would like to introduce as Minority Exhibit AA an email chain between you and Mr. Epstein dated October 8th, 2008. In the first email of the chain, you write, quote, I just gave an idea to the Fed and Jamie that might help the financial markets in a big way. Both thought it brilliant. You're referring to the Federal Reserve here, correct?
Yes, I am.
Why did you share information about your conversations with the Federal Reserve and JPMorgan CEO with Mr. Epstein?
Again, this was a very, very stressful time in the market. I was using Epstein's knowledge and judgment. And so I was sharing information with him as we were trying to navigate these very difficult times.
And I'm sure that the attorney or the questioner at that time was thinking to themselves, like the judgment of a guy who had sex with underage girls. That judgment.
She asks it, I think, later on in this exchange. It's exactly what she is thinking.
Mr. Epstein responds with some thoughts about financial markets. And then you reply, quote, I am dealing with the Fed on an idea to solve things. I need a smart friend to help me think through this stuff because I'm a moron. Can I get you out for a weekend to help me? Are they listening? Was this the same brilliant idea that you referred to earlier?
I believe it was the same idea and I referred to earlier.
Mr. Epstein was incarcerated at this point, correct?
Yes.
When you wrote, quote, get you out for a weekend, you meant out of the Palm Beach County stockade, correct?
Yes.
And when you wrote, quote, are they listening? You were asking whether Mr. Epstein's emails were being monitored, correct?
It seems that way, yes.
Did it strike you as problematic to be asking a convicted sex offender if you could get him out for a weekend so that you could share an idea you gave to the Federal Reserve and JPMorgan CEO?
Again, Epstein had a very interesting insights into the financial markets. It was a very difficult time in those markets, and I thought that I could benefit from getting his thoughts with respect to what I was thinking of doing with the Fed. This is also you, I think. So it's
okay. Ms. Ryan continues. Who is Ms. Ryan?
I don't know who's Miss Ryan. Where's you seeing that?
Well, anyway, Ms. Ryan continues, quote.
Oh, I'm not seeing that.
Down on page 37.
Okay, you're ahead of me. You're into the next one. So we're going to stop there. We're going to stop quickly at the stockade question here. So are they listening? Are they being monitored? Yes, seems that way. That's the repeat answer of that question. That's exactly what we just discussed. There's not much more to say there. He was just saying, asking a convicted child trafficker if he was come help him solve the world's biggest financial crisis and if he could get him out of jail for the weekend. Because, this is... he's a liar, obviously. That's how he got into this position where he had this charge, and he got a really whittled down charge. As we all know, it was a sweetheart deal that he got to plead to a very, very minor charge. The extent of his human trafficking was far, far more serious, and Jeff Staley knew that because he partook in some of that trafficking. So it makes it even more questionable that even though yes, this was a minor charge, but in reality, he knew exactly who he was dealing with here. Someone who would, traffic teenagers to important people around the world in order to buy their secrecy. But no problem there for Jess Staley. Just went right ahead. Asked him if he can come hang out for the weekend.
Again, can Jeffrey come out to play?
Yeah, it's so weird. So I think Miss Ryan here in this case is...
I'm looking it up right now. It's someone it's clearly a communication between bank employees, and they're talking about whether they should retain Epstein as a client.
Yes, which is interesting, of course, because they shouldn't, but here we go.
Let's see, hang on one second. I think I can... Okay, well, I guess she's definitely a bank employee, but I can't quickly get my finger on exactly who she is. So, all right. So in an email chain between bank employees discussing whether you should retain Epstein as a client, Ms. Ryan continues, quote, Catherine made sure we knew that no one on today's call was in favor of having retained him as a client. Seems it is all due to Jess's personal relationship. Note, he has about $212 million in the bank. Would you agree at this point, JP Morgan's retention of Mr. Epstein as a client was due to your personal relationship with him?
No, 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 I would not.
What was it due to?
I think the bank had full authority